So let's dive in, and we'll start with our commercial friends. We have Robert Weber, who contracts with the Department of Energy and formerly with BPA. We have John Heller from Ecotope and Helen Townsend from DNR, some of our key members of our commercial working group that have been around since the beginning of this initiative. So we'll welcome those folks to come on camera, and I'll stop sharing screen, and let's dive into our conversation. Great. John, Helen, Robert, welcome. Thanks for being with us. Okay, so let's start off our discussion today on commercial water heating. Tell us, just level set with us on how we recognize the need for a working group first, and then folding it within the Advanced Water Heating Initiative. How do we get started in the early days? Robert, I want to start with you. You've been around from the beginning. And your perspective from Bonneville Power Administration? Why was this recognized as a need? Go ahead. And you're muted, Robert.
Sorry, thank you. There's the early days of AWHI, and then there's the early days when we started this. And Bonneville recognized that there was a market potential here. We had no products. We'd never done it for central heat pump water heaters in multifamily. So we started this thing testing a reverse cycle chiller way back when with John Heller of Ecotope. And it grew. Okay, how do we do this? Can we do it? And we grew it to a point where, yeah, we've got enough demos. Let's bring it to AWHI and grow this larger. So I'll stop there.
You're muted, Joe. But I'll tag on to that. Ecotope got focused on the commercial heat pump water heater market, coming out of some work that was sponsored by the city of Seattle to understand where does the energy go in multifamily buildings. And once we started digging, we realized that the water heating system was the biggest single measure that was not being addressed by any of the utility incentive programs at the time, because there was no clearly identified technology to switch over to heat pump water heaters. So Bonneville funded that early investigation into what was out there, and then the product development, market development, demonstration over the years, starting about 12 years ago, where they supported us through a lot of lesson learning in the early days, and kind of the move to the Advanced Water Heating Initiative was trying to make it so that everybody didn't have to learn all the same lessons the hard way that we learned in the early days.
Well, I want to ask Helen about translating these lessons into communications materials in just a sec, but just to maybe set the stage for us. You all were going before even the Advanced Water Heating Initiative, 10 years, 12 years ago. What was, were the products on the market? Was anybody installing heat pump water heaters at that time?
There were some in the hot part of the world, Guam, Hawaii, a little bit down in southern Texas. Colmac Industries up here in Washington State was building a water heater and trying to enter that market, and that's the one we started out with, an early generation of their large commercial product. And we started out putting it in below grade parking garages in Seattle so that the ground contact could buffer the temperatures in the wintertime, because there were no products that could continue to operate through a Seattle winter.
Got it.
And I'll just add one thing to that, yeah, there were some painful lessons learned. One of the things we didn't have a lot of money, but we had what I call patient capital. So we could just keep working on this slowly every year and just keep chipping away at this, because we knew there was a big opportunity here. It was just going to take some time and build on all our lessons learned. So that's how we took an approach to grow this and make it and bring it to where it is today.
Final follow-up question: was the primary goal in those early days, efficiency? Was it decarbonization, monetary savings, all of the above?
It's efficiency for Bonneville. Bonneville doesn't have a direct mandate to do decarbonization. So Bonneville's funding is coming from an efficiency point of view.
Right, right. And since it was emerging tech, it was, hey, here's a good market. There's opportunity here. Let's understand how we can unlock some of that opportunity was how we approached it.
And the majority of water heating in the Pacific Northwest is electric resistance. So it makes sense for Bonneville to invest at an efficiency angle in heat pump water heaters.
Okay, thanks for that level setting. Great. Okay, Helen. So the AWHI gets started around 2019, and the existing work that had already been taking place in commercial water heating kind of becomes a crucial part of AWHI. And tell us about wanting to make some of these learnings that John and Robert are talking about more accessible to folks in the important communication. How did that get started?
Sure. Well, one area that DNR has really worked in is a lot of workforce development and market awareness. So we saw a need to translate this complicated technical information into more accessible ways that people can understand it at a higher level. Not everybody has the time or indeed the need to read a long engineering report, really detailed, hard technical information, but people do need to understand the concepts. The applicability, the business case for moving forward with this really energy efficient technology. So we did see a need for creating content that was visual, high level, kind of summarizing the case for these installations. So we saw a need not only in the decision makers, but in the technicians, in building owners, in codes and policy people, to be able to wrap their hands around and understand these technologies without needing to be engineers necessarily. So that kind of translation from the highly technical into more digestible, visual, short form, we saw an important need for that. Of course, to partner with the experts who really understand the technology, but then to make it more accessible to a lay audience.
Yeah, I can see that as a total need, and yeah, something that fits in well within this initiative. Great. We'll come also back to that workforce, but let's turn to, okay, so we've level set a little bit on why there was this need and how everything got going, right, in the ancient history of 10 years ago. Let's now look at let's zero in on the 5 years that the initiative has been going. Let's recap. Sometimes we only see the future ahead and all the things we have to do, and we forget about what we've done. So let's recap. Let's celebrate some of the initiative's successes over the last 5 years. John, why don't we start with you and tell us a little bit about what we've been doing. Let's look retrospectively and tell us about what have been some of the major successes that we want to call out and celebrate.
Well, I think one thing, Ecotop funded and sponsored an all-day seminar on commercial heat pump water heaters back in 2019 and brought together most of the people on the West Coast that were beginning to get involved in this work. Took some tours of buildings with these big systems that were working and talked about the needs of the industry going forward. And that kind of led to the formation of the commercial working group for the Advanced Water Heating Initiative. Because I think, the AWHI started out as a residential product focus. And I think once it became clear what Ecotop and Bonneville were doing and moving towards on the commercial side, that got added as another working group. And so it was really focused on what we developed through all of those hard lessons was a process that we call the technology innovation model for developing new products, starting with kind of paper due diligence feasibility studies, moving to application testing in the factory or in a warehouse before going out, taking that new product out to the world and doing demonstration projects and detailed measurement and verification. That was kind of, I think, that understanding of what it took to bring a product that is really dependent on the design. It's not the heat pump itself those are critical. You have to have a heat pump that works, but it's the design that really makes or breaks the performance and the application in the field. And that's been the stumbling block for the industry, is how do we simplify these products and make them plug and play so that they're done the same way every time and you can get repeatable, reliable results out of them.
Thanks. That's great. Yeah. So the technology innovation model, huge to walk products through. So in the last 5 years, how many products now have gone through the TIM, the technology innovation model? Anybody have that?
Robert, you want to jump in there?
Since I left Bonneville, I'm not sure how many more have been added. Take the best stab.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how you count and where in the process, about a dozen products have kind of stepped through that process, from feasibility, application testing, demonstration, measurement and verification, development of design guidelines. So it's really a way to speed products through. Learn the hard lessons fast before they're in actual buildings, and then try to figure out a standardized approach to do it the same way every time.
Just want to add one thing. The technology in it, from an ET, I've done ET for a long time and bringing products to market. And, John and I were aware that, if we take the standard linear approach, this is going to take us forever to get products in the market. So we worked really hard at saying, how do we shorten that timeline? How do we de-risk it? How do we get more products in the market, ready to incentivize and help the manufacturers cross some of the initial hurdles to bring products to market? And that was what the technology innovation model was. And it was a new way to approach bringing products to market. And I think we were pretty successful at really trying to shorten the timeline and make things happen faster. So that was my add-on.
Can you guys say one other example? Oh, go ahead, John. Yeah.
Oh, well, so an example was the great example is our work with Mitsubishi to bring the Heat 2.0 or QAHB commercial heat CO2 heat pump water heater to market in the U.S. Worked with them early to figure out how to adapt the technology to the U.S. market. Did testing with them in their factory. Did the first installation in a high-rise building in Seattle and actually prepackaged it with Steffes Industries into a fully prepackaged system that could be dropped onto a roof and able to replace the existing electric resistance central water heating system while the building was fully occupied with only a few hours of downtime and of hot water. So that was kind of the poster child of the success. And that was like a year and a half from Mitsubishi wanting to bring this product to the U.S. market to the point where they had a demonstrated system that could be replicated over and over again. So I think that really showed the power of that type of approach. The other thing I wanted to say about the impact of the Advanced Water Heating Initiative commercial group is it really focused us in on what Robert was talking about as a way to speed things along, in that we developed three different pillars, three different kind of working groups of responsibility. One on developing the products themselves through that technology innovation model. One group was focused on specifications, codes, programs, developing the advanced water heating specification, and so on. And then one group was focused on market awareness and education. And so those three avenues could be happening in parallel to speed the market transformation.
Great. Thank you for that. Helen, tell us about, you talked about the need for this documentation. What did we do as far as documentation over the last 5 years? What have we accomplished since?
Yeah, I want to come to that, but I want to first just quickly talk a little bit about the convening role as well, because just to tag on to the importance of the Advanced Water Heater Initiative, we really saw the need for, in the commercial group, for just very tight engagement. So we started off, like John said, with that that training and tours day at Ecotop back in 2019. But since then, we've done pretty much a once yearly strategic meeting with the leads of this group. So we look backwards at what we've done, we look forwards at where we're going, and we look at where we are right now and the progress we're making. But then we meet twice a month, a small group that leads the central heat pump water heater section. And we align on our objectives. We align on what's coming up for the next working group meeting, which are happening about every 2 months now. Of course, we have then these all stakeholder meetings as well that we participate in. But additionally, there's a Manufacturers Action Council that has been happening every 2 months or so for the last, probably about the last year. So there's been a really important convening role that we have that is helping to keep us all glued together, informed, moving along, tracking with the roadmap and the strategic plan that we've set in place. So I just wanted to kind of tag on to what John and Robert were saying there. But in terms of the documentation, so there's the technology innovation model that Ecotop has been leading with support from Bonneville, but there's also a technology awareness model. And this is speaking to the education, the workforce training, the marketing. And that's what we have done in the last several years is we've documented a ton of installations. So we've done case studies, short form case studies, 2, 4, 6 pagers, just the high level images, lessons learned, return on investment, a little information on the product, the system, the components, the parts. We've done more detailed virtual tours because not everybody can go and actually see these sites in person. But with a virtual tour that is documented with videos, interviews with the experts, pop-up panels on all of the different components, we've been able to expand the audience that can see these installations to a much wider group, including we've shared at many of our working group meetings before at AWHI. There have been benefits to instructor-led trainings as well. A lot of utilities have purchased trainings that go into great detail. Many of them have been developed with the Ecotop subject matter experts. CEUs are available for those. They're modular. We have some on-demand trainings that have been developed as well, between 1 and 4 hours in length. People can take those courses at their leisure. We're working on some shorter form videos as well, potentially in the future with some QR codes on equipment. So if technicians are there, they could actually scan something and see more information. So we're trying to make, in terms of just spreading awareness and making these innovations, these efficiencies available to a much wider audience than those who can actually go on site, either through just, available video tours or classes. So we have assembled a fairly large body and continuing to grow. It's not, of course, it's not just this company that I work for doing this work. There are others across the country as well doing documentation, part of the knowledge transfer in some of the bigger projects. So I think our next stage really is, and I know we're not really talking about next, but to make all of this accessible, a sort of single point of access that people can see all of the assembled body of knowledge.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah, where do folks get this all this great information? Is there a spot now you can point folks to, and then what does that look like in the future? And we've got about 3 minutes left on as we look to the future here. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have. I mean, Better Bricks, the NEA site has some information on water heating. Bonneville has some case studies on their website. We are working to get this consolidated and more easily available in a single point of entry with. So that is in progress.
Okay, great. That's the. So now we're pivoting to the priorities for the next 5 years as we're starting to scale. So John and Robert, with about 2.5 minutes left, talk to us about, we've heard about the priorities for getting a central repository for for all this training materials from the last 5 years. What else? What are the priorities in helping to scale the commercial heat pump water heater market?
Robert, you want to start, or?
Yeah, I'll start real quick. I know we don't have much time. I know there's efforts to, looking at national test standards is on the docket, and as well as the Natural Refrigerants Initiative, which I think Ram, if he's available, will talk more about. So those are two efforts from the DOE side. John, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Removing those market barriers is pretty critical to allowing U.S. manufacturers to keep up with European and Asian heat pump manufacturers. I think we're still developing a standardized approach for load shifting of this equipment, and that the connection with the utility integration with the needs of the grid is still in its infancy, but there's a lot of potential with this technology to provide grid services through thermal storage. A lot of work needs to be done there. We're just kicking off two multi-year DOE-funded projects to bring more low GWP US-made products and to demonstrate existing products that are on the market and really show the usefulness of the advanced water heating specification and the qualified products list that NEA has developed as a standard for developing utility programs around repeatable, reliable systems. So that work is ongoing to get utility programs aligned around a standardized approach to this. What else?
Maybe one more juicy one.
I think the national test standards is a pathway to aligning the advanced water heating spec and Energy Star so that there's a unified national approach to ratings and standards for this equipment, so that there's a clear pathway for what the manufacturers are doing and how this equipment gets rated and incentivized. So we're hoping to align Energy Star, CEE, NEA's advanced water heating spec, California code, get everyone pointing in the same direction, will help the market expand more rapidly.
Yeah. Well, thank you all. Thanks so much for that tour down memory lane, and also look to the future. We look forward to hearing your voices as we continue to do this work over our next 5 years. Thanks so much, John, Helen, and Robert. So that'll